So it looks like I have gotten to wake up to a rather nice green day with whatever the heck that Trump and Iran have been playing with. Um, Bitcoin on the shorter term timeframes has had a very positive reaction. We've pushed up to the 2x standard deviation band on both the 15-minute and the 1 hour time frame. The 4 hour time frame has had that fourth time breakout that I was talking about in my videos for the last few days now. I was talking about how we were making slightly higher lows and we were holding the fair value band, and it looked like we were retesting the breakout, and we've had a very successful retest. So if you got in on a long entry, you would be up around $2,000 or so per Bitcoin. And obviously my next levels are going to be the 1x and 2x standard deviation bands on the 4 hour time frame, because you can see when the fair value band turns green, very often if price isn't in a downtrend, if we're in a bit of an uptrend, we'll tap the 1x band, pull back to around fair value. So if we come up to 71k and we pull back to the fair value band, which will probably start moving up, and maybe that's around 68k or so, and then we'll likely, hopefully, test the 2x standard deviation band up at around 73, 74k. Depending on obviously when price gets there, because obviously all the moving averages are going to start to curl upwards now with price moving up. I'm going to have a quick look at the monthly time frame. You can see pretty much nothing has changed since my last video. We're still underneath the 50% level of the bull market range at 70,800, but it is only 6 days into this month, so we'll obviously have to see how this month plays out. On the weekly time frame, you can see the swing direction has turned back up. The BX trender is printing light green on this week as well, which is a very good sign. And as I've been talking about for a little while now, coming back and having a look at what happened during the last Bitcoin bear market, you can see typically when you start to see more than 3 weeks of light green, typically after a major capitulation, typically that means the low price is pretty damn close. Like obviously we had all this green on the BX trender and price still made lower highs and lower lows, and we did make a new bear market low, but it just means if you're in a long-term position and you manage to hold it for the next year or so, it's very likely you'll end up getting into a profit. And the other theory that I've been stalking is if we are still to see a major leg down, then maybe we see a few more weekly swings with higher lows and higher highs, trick everyone into thinking the bull market is back on, and then we capitulate. Obviously the BX trender there was slightly different to the way it's looking right now, but obviously history doesn't have to repeat, it just has to rhyme. So I am still looking for a weekly swing top to be broken. If we can potentially see some price action in the 76, 77k range, and potentially actually retest this 33 fair value band, because we actually have not retested it this entire bear market like we saw here through March of 2022. So again, this is why I'm undecided. The BX trender is suggesting, along with the fact that we've hit the -1 standard deviation band, it's suggesting that there isn't much lower prices to go for this cycle. But if you look purely off the swings and the fact that we haven't actually retested the fair value band, then that suggests that there is much further to go this cycle. Now, obviously, if you run time analysis, you could say that we're more likely somewhere here than we are here or here. So again, I guess we'll just follow the charts, and if you get a nice fourth time breakout signal, trade it. Whether you think the market's going to be up or down in 2 weeks, why not make your 2K per Bitcoin this week? Of course, any leads to the next weekly move will likely come about on the daily time frame, and you can see with our higher swing low, you can sort of just see it on this outside bar here, where we retested the fourth time breakout. We did form a regular bullish divergence on the stochastic RSI, and obviously with that lovely green candle yesterday, we've also turned the daily BX trend to green. Now, one thing to note is price right now is still underneath the 50-day TMA. So one thing that you have to keep in the back of your heads is the last time we saw a double top sorter underneath the 50-day TMA, it led to a massive capitulation, and pretty much the same thing happened in October. Obviously, we had more of a triple top in that case. But if you actually looked at when price touched the 50 TMA, I guess you could say that was a double top with a whatever in the middle. So that is definitely at the back of my mind right now. And until we manage to get some daily closes, remember, I like to see 3 daily closes above the 50 TMA, and ideally back on top of this trend line as well. I'm still not higher time frame bullish. Because this entire pattern here could very well be accumulation or redistribution. Now, I've asked ChatGPT what it thinks by giving it a clean 8-hour chart, and for the first time, you'll remember in my last videos, it was thinking redistribution. For the first time, it is thinking reaccumulation. Now, obviously, Wyckoff depends a lot on volume analysis as well. And we've obviously still got the 65 and 72K levels to watch. I'm saying 66 and 72 for a daily higher low or daily lower high. But I'm not taking volume into much consideration right now because it's an Easter weekend. Not many people are in the markets. And one other thing to note is we do have a very solid 3%, almost a 3% bias to the long side of the market. We don't have really high liquidations yet. So we have half of a Michael Pizzino signal now, suggesting a snapback reversal. Obviously, we've only seen around $196 million of shorts liquidated. And if you have a look through back here, that is absolutely not a abnormally high amount. Like you can see, most of these days here, we were seeing about, 140, 100, 150 million. Obviously, you had some pretty low volume days in the 40 to 50 million. But to mark significant tops, like if you have a look at this chart down here, you're seeing, 400 million, 370 million, 480 million, or around here, you're still seeing consecutive days of around 150 to 200 million liquidations on the short side. So I don't think we've seen enough shorts to mark a top just yet. But if we manage to see some more consecutive days, so if price manages to push higher, as we're liquidating 200 million of shorts every day in the next few days, but we're unable to actually break this 72K swing top, then I will definitely be thinking this is more of a distribution pattern. If we have a quick look at this volume profile over on the left-hand side, you can see we're pretty much rallying into this little volume cluster at 69.5. If we do manage to get above it, obviously the POC point of control at 70,700. That lines up pretty well with a few previous swing tops and bottoms, as well as obviously that $70,000 psychological level, which we have not managed to test yet since breaking down beneath it on the 26th of March. Now, if we have a quick look at the USDT dominance, you can see the THT combined signal indicator is still long. obviously, it isn't going to flip short until we see a breakdown of 6.3%. Sorry, it's not going to tag a stop unless we see a breakdown of 6.3%, unless we start to get, BX fade, etc., because there's a whole bunch of exit criteria on the THT combined signal system. You can obviously go check it out on the Traders Helping Traders website, where Peter has a bunch of free videos telling you about all the different exit criteria. He basically teaches you how to run this system for free using the fair value bands and BX trender indicators, which are free. Obviously, if you pay for the membership, you get this lovely indicator that tells you the historical results as well as exact entry and exit signals. Now, I'm also going to have a quick look at the THT long-term indicator, and you can see we are still long on the THT long-term indicator, and it has flipped long since pretty much the start of April in 2025. And it would have told us to take some profits when we had that February 2 mass liquidation day when Bitcoin tapped 60K. Obviously, that had all the hallmarks of a major capitulation on Bitcoin. Obviously, USDT dominance tapping the +1 standard deviation band. Great place to take profits. Obviously, this indicator wasn't out at the time, at least not publicly. Peter and everyone were still testing it in private, but you can just see how well it works. And it will keep us in the position until we start to see some signs of weakness. Obviously, you can go on the Traders Helping Traders website and look for all the exit criteria yourself. I'm not going to go over it right now. Or it will exit entirely when we hit the +2 standard deviation band. Now, if the USDT dominance manages to go into, 13, 14%, it probably is going to get pretty ugly. But if you have a look from the previous cycle, you can see we managed to get around halfway between the 1 and 2 deviation bands. So if we manage to hit, potentially 12%, this cycle, 11.9 or something like that, that could very well set us up for a major low. It may not be the final low because you can see the USDT dominance sort of double topped last cycle, and obviously the deviation bands kept going up, so that second top didn't even hit the +1 band. But yeah, so I will probably do a little bit more backtesting of this and make a dedicated video about it. But for now, I just think it's interesting that the USDT dominance is firing long signals on the combined signal system on the daily and weekly time frame. And obviously the long term just runs off the monthly time frame. So that is probably the reason that I'm not able to be higher time frame bullish on Bitcoin, even though the weekly time frame does look good right now. I just think based on, the daily, the monthly, and obviously the USDT dominance, it just looks like this next rally will probably fail. Now, that doesn't mean I'm going to, take 100% profits on the next pump. I will still need a proper signal to exit and go short. And what am I looking for? Well, I'm looking for a rejection off the 50-day TMA, like what we saw here. If we manage to close red today, or tomorrow's bar changes the swing direction down, like it did on the 2nd of April, I will obviously add more to my short. Now, obviously, I have taken a bit of profit on my long trade, because we're rallying into resistance, 70K psychological level, the TMA. So now I have roughly a 50-50 hedge, long as to short, and I am looking to increase that to one side depending on what the market tells me. Anyways, hope everyone had a great Easter. Thank you all for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys another day.